Chelsea are progressing with a new contract for Mason Mount. Mason Mount is hitting form again in a Chelsea shirt, and is loving life under his new manager Graham Potter. Mount scored the second goal in a 2-0 Chelsea win over Aston Villa on Sunday, and gave Chelsea a fifth win in a row. The club of course want to give the player a new contract, and it is seen as a priority going forward. Mount is everything that's good about Chelsea, coming from the academy, and the club want to show that and repay the midfielder. He is coming into the final 20 months of his contract, and is keen to commit his future to the club. According to Fabrizio Romano, Chelsea are progressing in contract talks with midfielder Mason Mount, and have it marked down as a priority going forward. Mount was immense against Aston Villa, and the club are happy with him on every level. Graham Potter spoke after the game about his relationship with Mason Mount, and what he brings to Chelsea. "We believe in Mason Mount a lot. We love him as a player, he's a great guy. You can see the influence he has on the team. The club are now working on extending the player's contract, and have made it an absolute priority. They want to build around Mason Mount for the future, and he will be a key cog in the Chelsea team for years to come." Graham Potter admits he made mistake playing Sterling out of position versus Aston Villa. Chelsea manager Graham Potter insisted that Raheem Sterling is still an option for the right wing-back position despite his having to tweak his plan in Sunday's 2-0 win over Aston Villa. Reece James' injury absence has left an obvious problem for the manager to answer. Cesar Azpilicueta and Ruben Loftus-Cheek seem to be the more obvious options as a replacement for James, but Potter surprisingly opted for Sterling at Villa Park. His plan was to use Sterling wide when in possession and defend as a back four without the ball. "We tried to be back three and build up and back four defensively with Raheem Sterling as a wingback," the manager said in his post-match press conference. "I thought we started the game quite well in the first 15 minutes, but then we lost a bit of momentum, and they were able to put pressure on, pick up second balls and get behind us. We had to make a change at halftime I felt, and the boys did it well. Raheem can play high and wide in all those positions, but clearly the balance of the team is one that we have to look at and find the right solutions." It did not take long before Potter had to adjust in the first half, pushing Sterling to the front three while Loftus-Cheek and Mason Mount filled in as a right wing-back and in midfield, respectively. Azpilicueta came on after half-time, which allowed Loftus-Cheek to play in a more natural role, and it worked quite well in the end. Still, James is expected to be out for 8 weeks, and in the meantime, Potter needs a reliable replacement. A rotation between Azpilicueta and Loftus-Cheek seems to be the safest option, although Potter clearly still thinks Sterling can play a hybrid wide role in this position. AC Milan could make a move for Ruben Loftus-Cheek in January. Loftus-Cheek has enjoyed a resurgence in form over the last couple of seasons after falling out of favor slightly for a period of time. His versatility has made him a useful option for Chelsea, even being utilized in a wing-back role at times. A move away from Chelsea now seems unlikely, but AC Milan could be about to test their resolve. According to Calciomercato, AC Milan could be set to make a move for Loftus-Cheek in January. AC Milan are unlikely to pay a significant fee for Loftus-Cheek, so selling him wouldn't make too much sense for Chelsea. Despite being utilized at wingback a lot for Chelsea this season, he may be needed back in a more familiar central role come the end of the season. N'Golo Kanté and Jorginho are both out of contract in the summer, and if Loftus-Cheek continues this fine form for Chelsea, he could become a regular starter in midfield under Graham Potter. Reece James to miss 8 weeks with knee injury. There is good news and bad news for Reece James after seeing a knee specialist last weekend for his injury that he suffered in a Champions League game against AC Milan. The good news is that he will not require surgery and thus will not miss something like the rest of the season. The bad news is that it's still not a minor injury, and the 22-year-old is expected out for 8 weeks, as confirmed by the Chelsea official website on last week Saturday. While that's not a hard deadline by any means, it does rule him out until after the World Cup and puts his participation in the World Cup for England under serious doubt. James himself isn't giving up on that idea, and has set himself an ambitious and very hopeful target, seemingly, but even if he does come back a lot sooner than expected, it might not be the smartest for him or for England manager Gareth Southgate to take him to Qatar. In any case, this is most unfortunate news, for both the player, his club, and his country. Here's to a quick and complete recovery. Graham Potter wants to sign Leandro Trossard. Reports have claimed that Graham Potter is keen to sign Leandro Trossard from Brighton and Hove Albion. According to 90 Minutes, the Blues manager is hopeful of securing a reunion with the Belgian, who he had previously worked with at the Amex. The 27-year-old is performing to the highest level of his career this season, with Potter managing him for the opening games of the season. The new Chelsea manager was utilizing Trossard in a number of roles. In his final weeks, he was optimizing the Belgian in a wing-back role. In his first game under new manager Roberto De Zerbi, he scored a hat-trick at Anfield to stun Liverpool and rescue a point for the Seagulls. Now, 90 Minutes have claimed that Potter would like to bring Trossard in as his first big signing since taking the reins at Stamford Bridge. He has already looked to implement the unorthodox wing-back role to his new club already, with Raheem Sterling being utilized there on a number of occasions. While it showed promise of working in his first match against RB Salzburg, it did not have the desired effect in Sunday's game against Aston Villa. Potter was forced to bring on club captain Cesar Azpilicueta at halftime. However, the manager will take encouragement from how the onslaught was certainly slowed down in the second 45. Trossard's versatility will certainly make him a viable asset for the Blues, with them currently feeling the injury strain and the requirement for players to play out of position. With Reece James' injury, the club could certainly benefit from him if they had him now, with last Sunday proving that they are in desperate need to find a suitable replacement for the 22-year-old, who they will be missing for the remainder of the year. Harvey Vale returns from his loan due to injury. Chelsea Academy product Harvey Vale, who moved to Championship side Hull City on loan in the summer transfer window, has returned to the Cobham Training Centre prematurely as he is receiving treatment to recover from his injury. The watchful eyes of the Blues medical staff are overseeing the 18-year-old's recovery from a groin injury that made him miss 3 league games since the international break. He picked up the injury while away on England under-20 duty. Hull are not sure about the extent of the injury, hence not putting any time scale for his return. However, interim manager Andy Dawson expects the youngster to return to Cottingham either later this week or next. Harvey Vale returned to Chelsea Training Centre to receive treatment. Vale, who is an attacking midfielder by trade but can play as a central midfielder, wide midfielder or support striker, has only made 2 appearances for the Tigers this season so far. One of those appearances came off the bench in an EFL trophy match. Before joining Hull, the 18-year-old scored 3 goals in 2 Premier League 2 appearances for the Chelsea under-23 side. He is a creative player who can score goals and add a lot of value in possession. While Hull City would hope that he returns with them soon, Chelsea would also be looking to send him back quickly so that he spends the maximum time of his loan spell with the club he was supposed to stay for the season. Will Graham Potter hand Harvey Vale an opportunity to impress? The other hope would be the player having more minutes and constant game time under his belt before returning to West London next summer. Hull are struggling in the Championship with only 4 wins from 13 games. They have only scored 13 goals. It means they are lacking players of quality to create or finish off situations in the final third. Vale has the quality to make a difference on that front. Whether he is consistent enough to do so in a physically rigorous league, only time will tell. Chelsea updates on N'Golo Kanté's injury. N'Golo Kanté has undergone an operation on his hamstring injury. The midfielder visited a specialist with the club's medical department to explore the options for his rehabilitation approach. It was mutually agreed for N'Golo Kanté to have a surgery to repair the damage. The Frenchman hasn't played since August 14 after leaving the pitch with a hamstring injury against Tottenham and will now miss the Winter World Cup too. Kanté is yet to play under new manager Graham Potter. Following a successful operation, N'Golo Kanté is now expected to be sidelined for 4 months. We the Blues fans pray and wish Kanté a speedy recovery.